What is up, guys? It is Carly here bringing you day 23 of my 25 days of Christmas horror, and today I'm going to be discussing Silent Night Deadly Night Part 3. I've already talked about Part 1, 2, and the remake on here, so why not go ahead and revisit Part 3 on this shitty VHS that I bought a few years ago off of a Facebook group page, which I like they have the little horror sticker there, but for some reason there was like writing all over the cover and it's pretty faded, but the tape itself works, so whatever. But yeah, Silent Night Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out from 1989. This one is essentially about you have this girl, Laura, who is blind. I believe she's been blind since birth, I think. I honestly don't even know. But she's blind and she has like this psychic link somehow to Ricky, who is of course the character from the brother from part 1, and then of course in part 2 he turns out to be the killer. And in this movie, from the events of part 2, he got shot a bunch, so he is being kept alive by this doctor. His brain is essentially, he's pretty much like robotic, like he brain dead, but he's still alive and able to open his, stuff like that. So his brain's like on top of his head, exposed. No, like there's like a clear helmet over it, but it's ridiculous. So she somehow has a psychic link to him, and she has dreams of him where she could see. Also doesn't make any sense, but whatever. I guess if you're psychic, you could do whatever. But she gets like flashbacks to his life and his childhood, which essentially is just showing scenes once again from the first movie in this. Not nearly as bad as like part 2 does, but I think it's funny that they once again do that where they show scenes from the first movie in this movie. They find a way to always milk that and fix their runtime in these films. But she ends up going up to her granny's house or whatever up in the mountains or something like that with her brother and his new girlfriend, who she doesn't really care for. And all the while Ricky he's been in a coma essentially, and he ends up waking up, and because he has this connection with her, he hitchhikes his way, kills a few people on the way, and gets his way up to where she's at to try to kill her. So yeah, that was a long-winded way of saying a very basic plot here. But yeah, this movie, people hate it. I know JP really despises this and thinks it's super boring. Everyone says it's super boring. I actually don't think it's nearly as well, not nearly, I think it's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as people say it is. As a sequel to part 1 and part 2, this is like the weirdest franchise ever. It's a completely failed franchise, honestly. Like, this could have been a really fun franchise. The first movie is like an all-time favorite for me. Then you got part 2 immediately cheaping out and being just so bad it's good. And then you have this one that at least it has continuity still, unlike part 4 and 5, but it's still, it was just a weird way to go. Like, I could see why people are bored by it because, first of all, Ricky is not played by the wonderful Eric Freeman. I feel like it probably would have been a little more entertaining just to see that guy in the role again. Now, I like Bill Moseley, but it's a very nothing role for him. I mean, he doesn't get to do much of anything. He, like I said, he's very robotic. When he does talk, it's just very one-note, monotone. Stuff like that. Moves slow. Is in a coma. So he doesn't really have a lot to do in this film. So it's not a diss on him. It's just not a good role for him in general, or anybody really. But I don't know. I find it watchable. People think it's like unwatchable. I don't think it's that bad. It does have some Christmas atmosphere going on. Like, I actually like when you get to the grandma's house, and of course when they get there, Granny is MIA and they're trying to figure out where she went, and there's just like kind of a good atmosphere because it's middle of the woods, middle of nowhere. But it is also slow. Like, it is a movie where there's really nothing, it just feels like nothing ever goes up. It doesn't, like, peak or anything. It doesn't, it feels very TV movie-ish, I guess you could say. Like, you have a lot of scenes with Ricky just traveling to try to come find her, which is funny. Like I said, he's literally hitchhiking at one point, just standing there, like, and then, like, of course, a guy picks him up, and then he kills him, steals his car. It feels like Michael Myers-ish in a way. And he drives up there and stuff like that. Yeah, so not really any memorable kills or anything like that. There's also a lot of white lighting, especially when you're in the doctor's office and stuff, that's kind of eerie, but also kind of annoying, because it's, again, very plain and boring. So, again, I could see why people are bored by this. And I will also say, on this watch, to their credit, I did go into a coma, because I was almost done with the film, and I fell asleep, and I slept for 4 hours and wasted my entire day unconscious. And so, you know, I don't think it's completely the movie's fault. I think I was a tired girl, but still, it was kind of funny that happened while watching this, of all things. So, great film to fall asleep to. Highly recommend for that. But overall, not great. I feel like I would watch this over part 4, though, if I'm being honest. You know, like, people like part 4 and 5, they're like, oh, they're different, but they're great if you just take them as their own movie, yada yada. And I agree with part 5. I think part 5 was pretty fun. It reminds me of like a Full Moon movie or something like that. I have a good time with that one. Part 4 is more like cultish and weird, and I think the girl's Jewish maybe, and I don't know. It doesn't really do it for me. I can't get into that one too much. This one, I feel like at least it tried to keep following the very bare bones story they had going to begin with. It just didn't really execute it that well and kind of went in a wonky direction. But I don't know. I would give this, it's totally average to me. I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. Again, I know most people would give it much lower than that, but it's far from the worst thing I've ever seen. So there's that. 5 out of 10. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Better Watch Out. Part 3. Thank you guys once again for joining me here for day 22 of my 25 days of Christmas horror, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 24.